Hi, it's Jeff Cullen, leader of the Basecamp 4 program. I'd like to talk about job descriptions today. Let's be honest, 99% of the job descriptions I've seen in client organizations have been terrible. And the reason's always the same. They don't tell people why their job exists, what they're expected to accomplish, and how those accomplishments are going to be measured. So I always say it's hard to win the game if you don't know the score. Basecamp 4 has produced a template for the creation of job descriptions that are based on outcomes and results. Have a look.
Okay, so here we have our standard results-based job description template. And this is an actual template from a real client. So I'm using this as an example. Let's start by looking at the upper sort of third here. And we'll zoom in a little bit. So the first thing we see at the top is the position title, and this can be fairly standard. In this case, we're looking at a Chief Financial Officer or CFO position. And then the next part is the position purpose. And this is where we start to differentiate from the standard job description. As I said, in a lot of cases, if you were asked someone why their position exists, they often have not a clear idea. So we want to be very clear. So in this case, we see that what we've determined here is that the CFO ensures that all aspects of the firm's financial, administrative, and core business functions and processes are operating to provide info and support to all other key functions. So it provides some clarity as to why the position exists. Then we will specify who the position is accountable to, and in this case the CFO is directly accountable to the CEO. After that, the next important part is accountability for key outcomes. So here's where we've identified for this position 5 specific key outcomes. And like I said, the whole idea here is that we can measure the position's success based on the value that is produced as opposed to focusing on specific tasks and activities. So a couple things here. The SMT, which was the management team and project managers, have timely access to relevant and accurate financial information. The firm's short and long-term liquidity and solvency is maintained. Business resources, infrastructure, and processes are adequate and maintained. Administrative, regulatory, financial, and tax affairs are effective and well managed. And the firm's property is well maintained, protected, and effectively managed. So in this firm, the CFO position was a little bit broader than some, and we wanted these accountabilities to reflect that. So going back to the main template, we will now look at sort of the middle third of the template and talk about that. Let's just zoom in here. Okay, so now this is where beyond just the accountabilities, we build on that with specific key performance indicators or KPIs that relate back to those outcomes. At least in most cases, they relate back completely or perfectly. In some cases, there's a bit of broadness, but in this case, they're fairly related. So first, we would identify 5 measures on the left-hand side. So in this case, the things that we're going to measure are work in progress, accounts receivable, liquidity, business readiness, and administrative readiness. And again, like I said, these relate right back to those 5 outcomes. And then we've got some specific target levels of performance. And again, you can be more or less specific here. So for instance, at the top, we have average days in WIP and total value as a percent of revenue of unbilled work. So we hadn't quite nailed down a number, but we would have probably had a quantifiable measure. Average days in receivables and percentage of receivables at 30, 60, and 90 days. So again, we would actually put some hard numbers there. Forecasting and maintaining cash flow and the operating line of credit within a target range. So again, controlling the cash flow and the liquidity, and so forth and so on. So again, the idea here is making it specific and measurable across the board. So if we go back to the main, now we'll take a look at the sort of the bottom third, and we'll blow that up. Now this is where it looks a little bit maybe more traditional to job descriptions, and that's fine. what we want to look at are core responsibilities, tasks, and activities. So this is where we can add some specific detail. So in this case, our CFO is also going to be responsible for some key financial functions like payroll, GST and corporate taxes, regular management reporting, annual budgeting, and so forth and so on. And the final section is where we would define some skills, knowledge, and experience requirements. And again, I'm going to say that it's really critical. This works much better when the positions are designed first, independent of any specific employees or candidates, so that you don't kind of fit the role to the person, but you go the other way. So you want to be very objective in determining what the requirements of the company and the role are, and then find the best person that fits the role. So for instance, here we had a requirement for an accounting designation, 5 years of experience as a controller or a CFO, proficiency with Sage 50, which was the software that the firm was already using, 3 years of supervisory experience to reflect the fact that they would have some staff under them, and excellent communication skills. So like I say, the trick is to define the role as independently as possible from your employees, and then go out and evaluate the person and their skill sets and their experience, and see how well they meet the requirements. Of course, there's always opportunities for training and development, and in fact, again, this job description can serve as a really strong tool for that. Once you have a candidate that meets the majority of the criteria, you can evaluate them against some of these skills and experience and knowledge requirements, and then create a training program around that. So that concludes our look at that.
So there you have it, a tool to create powerful job descriptions that drive outcomes and results. If you'd like more information, go to our website, www.basecamp4.ca, and on the contact page, send us an email with the subject line job descriptions. I'll be happy to send you a Word document that you can download and use in your own company. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and all the best with your business.